It's been a little while since my last video. Wanted to jump online in the few minutes that I have this afternoon and maybe share some thoughts. Let me see here. I have some questions, a number of questions. A lot of the questions I get are repeat questions, and I answer them in different videos, and it's kind of hard to address them and then readdress them. So I can't always reply to comments, and I can't take a lot of time out of my day and answer a lot of questions. So it is what it is. I do what I can. Just polished off a Papado's coffee here, my brother's birthday. I took him out to eat today. It was a whole lot of fun. So what is your, okay, so here we go. Let's just knock some questions out. What is your A1C? At last check, 4.7. That is an A1. The one before that was 5.0, the high 5.2, and going back before OMAD was about 5.6. Do you believe that anyone who is overweight has insulin resistance? No, you have heard that from people like Dr. Eric Berg. Eric Berg is one of these who says if you have any gut or if you have it, then you're just insulin resistant. That's all there is to it. But that's not true. The way you carry fat is as distinct as you and your genetic code. You determine that based on how much you eat, your activity level, all of the things. There was one in here on cholesterol that I'm trying to find again, and I don't see it, but I guess I'll come upon it. Lots of questions. Do diet sodas cause insulin spikes? I get oh boy. Listen, diet sodas don't cause insulin spikes, except in about 8 to 12% of people. It is rare that that's probably the case with you. You might be a person, but usually when you're just hungry one day and you felt that you felt hungrier after a soda, unless you can repeat it consistently every single time, it probably is just in your head. Avoid the tendency to think that everything in your life that happens has to be playing into something that you have control of. Again, sometimes you get up in the morning, you just don't feel good. It doesn't mean you ate something bad. It doesn't mean every time you have a headache or you're drowsy after a meal that you have blood sugar problems. Our reliance on all of these internet sites and knowledge and YouTube channels has us turned into paranoid hypochondriacs. A lot of it has nothing whatever to do with how you really are. What is your total cholesterol? 124, pretty dang low. I have an ideal cholesterol, and at some point I will do a video on how I maximize that. In short, eating a lot of legumes and a diet that is only 10 to 5% flesh food or fats of any kind, plant or animal. So that's another discussion for another time, but that's how you do it. A lot of plant-based eating. You guys see me eat junk on here. And here's the question on junk food. You're eating a lot of shit. What is your problem, bro? Well, bro, I understand that life ebbs and flows, so sometimes I will eat healthier than others. And my point in showing, in what I have shown in the various videos about the way I eat, is that you can vary and still lose weight. You don't have to always be eating beetroot and strawberries and blackberries and black beans and all. You don't have to do that. Is it okay to chew gum? I get so many questions about gum chewing. I don't know, because I don't chew gum. I have an oral fixation to where if I'm chewing something, it bothers me. Smells bother me. A lot of different things, they freak me out. So smells, cinnamon, I hate cinnamon. I hate the smell of it. I hate it. Pimento cheese, I hate it. Oatmeal that's cooked, if it is prepared, it looks like chewed food. It's a lot of things gross me out. Gum is one of those things. You get about 10 to 13 calories from one stick of gum. Do I think that's enough to get an insulin response? I don't think so, but it could make you hungrier if you're chewing on it a lot. But then some people love to have something in their mouth, just like chewing ice, which actually is a good way to, if you're jonesing for food and you're just starting OMAD, is actually a good hunger suppressant. to give yourself the sensation that you're eating so that your mind can relax. Personally, it's not the hugest thing I have ever, a tip that I have ever given or that I have experienced, but it is what it is. You talk a lot about the Bible. What church do you go to? Okay, guys, I used to be a very religious person. I have a degree in theology and philosophy from a seminary here in Austin. I did used to be a church pastor. I am not anymore. I have moved away from religion of any kind, and I have done so not in anger, but I have done so because I found that the truth does not belong in a synagogue, a temple. There's nothing like that that defines reality and truth. And matter of fact, it's the fact that you can't categorize anything into truth or reality that makes it such a beautiful thing to go through life. It's the fact that we can't say life is all about atheism or all about theism or pantheism or deism. And this isn't a religious channel, so I don't want to get too far into that, because I respect you fully if you are extremely religious, and I respect you if you are not, because both worldviews are really saying the same thing. I believe that all of life is its own manifestation of the divine. So it's like I'm an animist, sort of a pantheist. I'm not really, I don't know if a straight atheist anymore, but I don't see there being very much of a difference in that. So let me reposition here. Because this is shaking, it's probably annoying the crap out of some of you. All right. Got kid stuff everywhere. It's kind of crazy today. I've got a lot to do and only half the day's off. So, but okay. So why don't you work out more? Because working out is, I have the correct view of working out. Working out should augment your life. Okay, if I don't need to run 10 miles, which I don't, why would I train for that? If I don't want to have 24-inch arms, why should I go out there and jack myself up like that? If I don't have to help people move or work as a bouncer anymore, do stuff like that, why do I need to go around all jacked up? Some of you guys are like 22, and so your idea of fitness is to go out there and just bust your ass hardcore. The problem with doing that is that you can't maintain that, most of you. And like my brother who turned 41 just realized, you're not going to be able to climb a rope and ring a bell and run 13 miles a day forever. You're just not. I can run 3 miles right now. I can overhead press 135 pounds. I can curl about 115. I can bench 205. Those are not the greatest stats that you will ever see, but they're actually really good for a normal in-shape man. In shape means you're where you're supposed to be. It does not kill me to maintain those stats. So for those of you who have this image of being a jockey guy, that's kind of like an immature thing. So you need to bear in mind that your view of the world is kind of not really well formulated yet. All of these YouTubers, by the way, these guys who are 22 and they're doing like workout routines, that's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're not going to have, in 5 years, they're probably not even going to have a channel anymore. And what I've done with this channel, I can stop making videos forever, and what I have offered will still be of value. And maybe that is true for some of them, but many of them, it's just a phase of life sort of thing. I do this only because I find that it serves a purpose. And I'm looking for one other file that I wanted to bring out. There was a couple more questions. I just I just reset my hard drive and misplaced a lot of the stuff that I thought that I I properly maintained. So here we go. Um, do you still eat OMAD? This is a very common question. Yes, 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 yes. Of course, I'm never going to not eat OMAD. Doesn't mean that I'll never have more than one meal on some days, but it's rare um, that I don't do OMAD. I'm so at peace. I feel so good. I'm never going to leave that behind. Never, 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 never. Another gum question. Um, okay. I am depressed all the time. What can I do? Okay, I'm not gonna get into this today, but I will do another episode because I get a lot of questions from people that are at very low points in their lives, and they just they're just thinking about the end. They're just depression is a gift, and I'm going to talk about that in another video. But can you ever be wrong? What is your problem, dude? You talk like you know everything because like you don't. So, okay, um, this is hilarious. I love truth questions. There's one planet with life on it, as far as we know, us. But how many planets are there that are dead? They have too much of one thing, not enough of another. They're imbalanced. Trillions, quintillions, billions, billions, there's tons. And there's one planet. That's what it takes in an entire solar system, like an entire galaxy like ours, to produce one planet with life. Of all of the things in my life that I have done, many of them have been wrong. I've been wrong about things I said on this channel. One of the things I regretted was probably recommendations for stuff like olive oil and all of that. Oil's actually not that good a thing. I have said things that were perhaps, maybe not accurate. Maybe, I can be wrong like anybody else. I've never said otherwise. Truth is an indirect sort of thing. And the way it comes at you is that as you live, the things that you remember in life, the things people tell you that you can't help but forget, either you get angry about them or you accept them and never forget them. Those are the universe speaking to you. And I know that sounds like a whole bunch of hodgepodge silliness. That sounds like something a New Age hippie would say. But it's absolutely true. The truth of the cosmos, the grand design, if you want to call it that, speaks to you through all of your experiences, individually, personally, through facts and stats and experts. But I'm not obsessed with any one method. I might learn something from my neighbor, a guy across the street who's kind of an isolationist and never really does much of anything except look around to see what goes on around him. I might learn something by reading a study from Dr. Greger or Joel Furman. By the way, two of the people that I think have the most credibility of the well-known doctors, health and nutrition people who are on YouTube and other venues. You might learn through any method, but it's a fact that those of you who are obsessed or angry about truth or still trying to find out where you're going, you're not obligated to any one ideal. You are not in any way locked into something. There's no ideology here. There's no cause. There's no, I have to do this so that I can do this because this is my aim. If you go through life without an objective, you're going to find that the objective that is you, the sum total of you, will start to come out. And you will find that you can't be anybody else. It's okay to not agree with those around you, be they experts or complete amateurs. That's the way things are. That's the way things go. And if you can't get to that point where you can't divorce yourself from ego, then you just haven't grown enough yet. You haven't accepted that the universe it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about your role, the same way one of the little bacteria in your stomach is presently digesting the last meal, or as it turns out, about to eat or about to digest whatever you're about to eat, if it's your time to eat. You are a part of the cosmos, and the cosmos needs you as much as you need the cosmos. The air to breathe, the carbon dioxide composition, nitrogen, oxygen, everything is a grand, I don't want to say plan because that goes too much. It is a grand design. It is a construct beyond which you can even begin to comprehend, but you're not meant to comprehend it. That's why all of these efforts for people to understand their bodies and the universe and the perfect diet, the quest for the perfect diet, all of these things invariably fail. The origin of life, why there's life on our planet and not any others, those aren't meant to be answered because they simply are, and that's the answer. The answer is you. Because you have the ability to comprehend the cosmos, you are the cosmos. You are it. The universe needs you as much as you need it, because it can't perceive itself. The eye doesn't know what the brain is doing, but they work together perfectly. The gut bacteria you have is foreign to you. It is not the same DNA as you. It just works in harmony with you. That's one thing I loved about the Matrix, especially Matrix 2, the second movie, came out in 2003. It talked about the symbiotic relationship between the machines and the humans. Each one, just the same way we need technology, we've come to a point where we really can't divorce ourselves from it. Think about it, and it's very true. The same way we need all of the cellular machinery that is in us. That's why you can't divorce yourself diet-wise, I don't think, from eating all of the food groups, all of the food items. And I think you can be smart about it, but I don't think you can go out of your way to divorce yourself from it. But the point is, truth is best seen when you are not looking directly at it. Just like that patch of stars in the Pleiades cluster. When you look up toward the sky and you look at the Big Dipper and you look at all around you, even if you don't know what all the names of them are, you'll note that there's a patch of stars. And when you look away from it, you can see it. But when you look directly at it, it goes away. You ever notice that? That's a perfect example of truth. The sun is too bright to comprehend, but you see its light all around you. All right, enough of that. You know the truth, but basically I'm saying you know the truth by contrast. You know life by looking at a dead planet that has no life on it, and you say, mine is not like that. Mine is like this. Mine is teeming with life. This one has not a single solitary speck of life on it. Not even under the soil, not anywhere. So that's how that's how the truth works. That's how the divine works. It teaches you little things, and it's the fact that you don't know the whole picture is what means what you're discovering is legitimate. That's why Einstein went to his grave in a big sense thinking that he made one of the greatest blunders. And we can get into cosmology, but some of you don't care. I love it how if I talk about anything but fasting, some of you get pissy and they write me and say, what does that have to do with fasting? I think it's funny, but whatever works. You get it. You get everything on this channel. Is there a perfect diet? No. What do you think of miso? I don't eat it. They say it counteracts the effects of salt. That it's supposed to, I don't eat it. What about amaranth? I don't eat it. What about quinoa? I don't eat it. I don't eat a lot. I really am kind of picky. And then I have stories in here coming to me about eating low carb, and ladies having some. Here's the God dang. Some of you need to drop the low carb thing, and I know I just harped on that the last longer video that I did. You need to really dial back on that, because most of you are going to find the carbs aren't the problem. It's your reliance on acidic, high-fat food that is messing you up. And you're going to find that if you'll just go through and adjust normally, then you'll get past and you'll start losing more. I've talked to several girls this past week who PCOS. They don't lose for nothing. Hypothyroid and PCOS, two conditions ladies struggle with. I gave some recommendations. At some point I'll do a video on the recommendations for ladies that are struggling with hormonal irregularities. And I feel for you, because it's really, really tough to face those things. My ex was PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, for those of you who don't know what that is. And weight loss is stupidly hard. But if you'll give it the longest plateau I have heard to date is 7 weeks. This one poor lady had 7 weeks, but after that she's losing about 2 to 3 pounds per week, eating once a day, eating only 10% protein and fats, and predominantly carbs, supplementing with licorice root only, or maybe a couple other things, increasing her consumption of various teas. And I have a few recommendations, relying on legumes, different things. That's really the best diet. If you want to handpick a diet and say this is the best diet, you can't completely do that, but you can do that. So no carb, low carb. I don't recommend that you get into any extremes. If you want my take on that. What do you think of kettle weights? If you enjoy them, then do it. Don't over exercise. Don't do that. If you're trying to lose weight, don't get this thing where you just have to run. Here's another one. I'm getting sleepy and I'm going to bed early fasting. Is this normal? No. Do not try to do your fasting and keep your normal level of activity, whatever it was. You should be productive. If you're adjusting, I understand having problems. If you're not adjusting, you're going to have a little bit harder row to hoe, so to speak. You're going to struggle a little bit longer, but you want to get to a point where your body is burning your fat, and the way you do that is by eating foods that you like that burn off quicker, aka low-fat carbs. You're going to find that you're going to adjust to OMAD better that way than just loading yourself down with about 20 eggs or bacon. Not that there isn't a place for eggs or bacon sometimes, but I can go a week or 2 weeks and not eat any animal products. I feel better fasting then than I do any day. Blueberries, beets, things like that, grapes, I love them, man. I can eat them. That's my suggestion. Again, this channel is not about foodieism. There's no dead-on recommendation for what you have to do or anything of that nature, and I don't want to come off like somebody who is a food person who's sending you in one direction or the other, because that's a mistake you've made all along in your life when you've been doing one diet or versus another, and you keep running into problems. Alexa says, I am having highs, emotional highs and lows. Fasting, is this normal? Yes, it is. This is what I call emotional detox, where as you begin to become more efficient around week 6 or 8 of fasting, you start to become more motivated and you start to have more energy, but you also start to find that as you're sitting around, life starts to feel kind of new and you want to do different things and you don't know why. You start wanting to take a few more chances, and that's your body in a safe level of ketosis. It's pushing you out there, and it's causing you to experiment and explore. That's the best kind of fasting, and that's your hunger's kind of minimized. It's a lot minimized, perhaps. And though you feel like maybe you could eat, you don't feel starving, you don't feel totally drained of energy. That's your goal. But when that happens, it is very common sometimes to go through a period in your life where you start thinking about the past and you start becoming more perceptive. I get emails from some of you who are, I don't know, I guess on the verge of psychic, we'll say, where you start reading people. I talked about reading the Mad, Glad, Sad, and Scared paradigm in one of the other videos. Fasting puts you in touch with that side of your brain. So you'll be around someone and you'll start thinking, why am I getting that this person got in and out of a car? Why do I? And if you'll follow those, I'm not saying you're going to predict everything in their life, but you're going to find that if you can engage people on that level, you'll start to notice things about people that you've never noticed before. And about yourself, you'll start to rethink old relationships. You'll start to think, you'll rethink old jobs. You'll start to become more self-aware. But as you become self-aware, the human experience is mirrored with everyone around you. So you'll find that the events in your life parallel the events in people you're talking to, and you'll come to see someone who is hurting, who is emotionally bruised, who is going through a low place in their life. That will jump out at you in a way that it has not before. And so I will talk with people and things will come out in our one-on-one sessions. It's crazy. It's crazy how I could sit here all day and tell you stories about directions that we've gone. You start facing old demons. You start thinking about mistakes, peaks and valleys of your life. But you have the tools in the ideal omadic fasting phase when you've deeply adapted, especially around month 3 to 6. That's when those of you who are really getting into it, like hardcore, that's when you start to really turn the corner and you start to realize your life is changing. And it's about, if you can wait till month 8, you're going to change even more. And it's going to become revolutionary. You're going to start to make different mental connections that you never would have made before. That's why fasting, if properly done, without depriving yourself too long of nutrients and nutrition, because you depend on the planet. Remember, you depend on the planet. The planet depends on you. If you can do that, then your life is going to change in ways you cannot imagine. I promise you it will. Okay. Are you married? Are you single? I am currently single. I'm divorced since 2010, for those of you who must know. What is your current weight? I weighed this morning at 187.4. Do your nails grow faster during fasting? I don't know. I want to say they do because it feels like they do, but that's not an academic measurement, so I don't want to tell you wrong. It does feel like my nails grow faster when I'm fasting. Do you like Tang? No. What about lemon water? Does lemon water break a fast? No, lemon water won't break a fast. What about chia seeds? I do chia seeds. I put them in beans. I cook them the last 10 minutes and let the water cook them down and then stir them in. Or I put them on top, or I put them in a grape and beet smoothie. I do believe in smoothies, properly done. I add 1 teaspoon or 2 of amla powder, and that amla powder further helps break down the sugars so that you get even less of any sort of an insulin hit. The problem with juicing, I'm all over the place today. The problem with juicing, you don't want to juice, because juicing, with rare exception maybe, you're going to get that hit of insulin because your body's got to make that insulin to bring your levels down, your sugar down. But when you're juicing, you still have the fiber mixed in. Or when you're doing smoothies, you still have the fiber in there. But if you have trouble controlling your blood sugar, you can add in amla. I'll link to the product. And what that will do is it will allow you to have even better control of your blood sugar. For those of you who struggle with blood sugar control. Why are you always unhappy? I'm going to do a separate video on depression. I have struggled with depression since I was a child. For those of you who, some of you know where I'm going. You can spot this in me. You can see that I'm a little bit of an introvert, extrovert and introvert, and you can spot, because I have received emails from people that are very perceptive, and they have picked out things about me, just like I could about them, and they can spot some of my own thing. Anyway, I'll get to the video at another time. But depression is a gift. It's the ability to. It means you have a role that others do not have. So, and short of chemical depression, you really can't replicate what I call spiritual depression, or something to that effect. I'm getting ahead of myself. When is it time to stop fasting? Well, if you can't sleep, you have emotional highs and lows that are off the charts. You're at war with the scale. You may need to sometimes, some of you, stop and start over. Now, sometimes people consider that failing, but it's not failing. People that are coming from being severely hormonally imbalanced, have severe weight fluctuations or health conditions, you might want to reach out to me, because sometimes you have to attempt fasting slowly. And I've had 2 people, they broke their fast after about 2 weeks and started back in again. And each time, when they did that, after about 2 times, they ended up being able to stabilize. Sometimes if you've had cancer, if you've had a serious crippling disease, then that can change how you approach fasting. Because remember, fasting is a good form of stress, but it's still stress. You may not be in a situation where you can just start all of a sudden. You may, in your case, be different. Me, that's not how I roll, but you do not have to compare yourself with me, and I hope you don't, because not all of us are going to come from the same angle. What if I have my meal at night? Same deal. It doesn't matter when you eat your meal. I don't eat late. I eat my OMAD meal between 1 and like 4 or 5 p.m. because it just makes more sense. I don't sleep well on a full stomach. Maybe you're not that way. How come you don't get more greens? Oh, I do get greens. I get arugula and spinach are the most common, and broccoli are my most common greens. I usually drink them down because they just don't taste that good. But I get them about 3 times a week. Stop getting into that mindset where you think you have to follow a bunch of dietary advice. If you go too heavy on greens, you're going to end up with oxalic acid, too much oxalic acid, and you're going to have trouble. What do you think of dates? I don't eat them really. What about goji berries? I get, they're expensive and they're hard to get a hold of. Buckwheat, I don't eat buckwheat. Maca, I don't do maca. What is your favorite bean? I would have to say pinto or black. They're on the antioxidants. The black beans come out ahead of all of them. I also do white beans and lentils and Mayakoba yellow beans, which are South American, and they're really good, man. You can just make a pot, and they're really, really good. Black-eyed peas I love. How do I make tea less boring? I can help you with that. All right, make your tea. White tea happens to be my favorite. Black tea, green tea, hibiscus even though it's really bitter. Take a handful of mint and throw it in and boil it, just mint leaves, and then strain them out. Let it go 10 minutes, and then strain it out, and you will have spearmint tasting tea, and I promise you it will be a lot less boring. I am cleaning the house a lot. Yes, that is one of the, you start taking care of your life when you start doing when you start fasting. You get into that productive mindset. You should have more energy, not less. You should have a better mood, not less. However, there are some modifying factors to that because not all of us are going to be able to approach life like that. We're not always going to be happy. We're not always going to feel very good. And if you're thinking that, then you've got a ways to go. Do you like stir fry? You bet I do. How, if so, how? I do stir fry. I water fry. I don't even use oil anymore. I just throw it in a hot pan and then add enough water to get it going. Mike the Vegan, I guess it was, showed me how to do that, and I thought that was really cool. I botched it like the first 2 times I tried, and then I threw some zucchini in there and learned to add in some mushrooms. Wheat pasta or regular pasta? Either, but I do wheat. I do both. I don't know. I don't care. Can you do a video on minimalist eating? Yes, I actually have one coming. How many bananas do you get a day? Oh, like if I'm eating bananas that week and I'm bored with blueberries or blackberries, I'll go with a banana a day or 2, and then I'll cycle out the next 2 weeks. I won't have them because I get bored with stuff. Grapes are probably one of my favorite fruits. Let's see. Does honey, you eat honey, does honey corrupt your gut bacteria? No, it doesn't. God dang. What about milk? Can you have milk at the meal? Can you have beer at the meal? Yes to both. I would minimize both of them because milk is phlegmy and is hard to digest, and most people are, in fact, allergic to it on some level. What is your thyroid at? My thyroid, thank you for asking. My thyroid is much better. I don't have any hot or cold flashes. I feel good. I have more energy. I feel 35 again, a non-obese 35. I feel good. I feel 10 years behind me. I feel very good. Can you, oh wait. I'm trying to make sure I got I'm about ready to close out for today, but I wanted to, in the same questions, why don't you quote studies? Because studies, I don't want to cherry pick. Studies are usually cross-sectional. They're just taking people with different variables and they're putting together. You're going to find that testimonies and anecdotal evidence, though it is often criticized, is very powerful. What do you have against chicken broth? I don't have anything against it, but it isn't going to do anything miraculous like some people think it would. How many cheat days should... Drop the cheat days if they're getting in the way. A lot of these questions are, was doing well and then I did a cheat day. That's another one of my regrets. I wish I had not mentioned the splurge days because people always think they're a binge. They think that they have to be doing well and then you just go out and just binge. I've never said that, and I don't want to convey that. If it helps you not ever to worry about a splurge day, don't ever do it. Please don't. If you had to pick, what is your favorite green? Arugula. It is the best. I add that with mint and onion, or sometimes just one or the other. I'll just throw some cut up scallops and blend it and drink it. it's actually good because you don't expect it to be sweet. So that's about it for today. I wanted to answer some of these questions. That many of them, I know there's a whole bunch more. It is what it is, but I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Have a great afternoon.